But what we're going to do today is, because all of y'all are going to end up, well, you're just doing your book, correct?
Yes,
But the three of you are going to end up working with the newspaper and the yearbook, and the design is different for them, but yet it's not different. And so that's kind of what today is about. So I'm still hoping that even though y'all learned something last year, and you and I even went to the yearbook workshop last year, last summer, this still, I think, will kind of do everything. And what we're doing, the 2 sessions after this have to do with design, but it also has photography and writing in it. So what y'all are going to be looking for is for the design aspect. So that's why we needed to do this. Now can y'all see this okay, or am I going to need to turn off a light? I know that Mr. Weiser would rather I not turn off a light because he's got the lighting all set. Can y'all see this okay? Addie, can you see it from where you are? Okay, so I have several front pages I'm going to put on here, on some of the pages, and what I want you to think of is this. We don't have a broadsheet newspaper anymore. Do y'all know what a broadsheet is? Is that a foreign word for you?
It's the tall one.
It's the tall one. So the Arkansas Democrat Gazette is about this big. The Log Cabin Democrat is. The Tower used to be until last year. Now we have a tabloid size. So it's about like this. You remember you were on the cover as Superman.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we have that size now. So what I want you, when you look at a whole page, you may think, well, that's all well and good, but the Tower doesn't look like that. But look at the part of it that could look like that. Like for this, see, this would be great for a tabloid page running on empty. This is about dollars. It's not really about gas. But isn't that kind of a cool idea? So there's still aspects from a broadsheet page we could use for the Tower. And then we're going to have some other pages where I have your book pages up here. So it'll pertain to everything you're going to do with your 2 jobs, okay? Except, of course, for you, since you're doing your book, okay? So I just wanted to make sure that you understood kind of how this applies to you. Does that make sense? So here's 4 basic design principles. Can y'all see this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The 4 are contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. So let's just talk about what that is. You know what contrast is, right? How something is different from something else, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is repetition? I know you know, but let's put it into words. Landon, what does that mean?
I mean, something over and over.
Right, something repeated, right? What is alignment? What do you think that might be? Hannah, I'll put you on the spot.
Alignment. Nothing, like everything has to like flow together, nothing off by itself.
Right, and everything has to line up.
Mhm.
Not necessarily with lines that you can see, but everything is aligned together, okay? We're real big on that with design. And the last one is proximity. So I'll make Addie tell us what that is. What is proximity?
It's like how things are arranged on the page, like pictures, how close they are together, and just our different design elements, how we arrange those on the page.
Okay, and some of that has to do with space, doesn't it? As far as people are concerned, proximity is how close things are around you, like in your life. Like for a news element, which doesn't have anything to do with design, proximity is slightly different, but that's exactly it. So we're going to touch on each one of those, but let's kind of go over what this means at this point. Contrast is avoiding having items on a page. You want to avoid having items on a page be similar. You want them to be different if possible, because it's more pleasing to the eye. If they're not the same, you want to make them very different. Not just a tiny bit different, but very different, okay? So I'll put Hannah on the spot again. So Hannah, let's say you were going to use some color on a page, like on a newspaper page, and you want to make the box behind a story be pink. Well, if you had another story with a box, would it be a good idea for it to be red? How come?
Because those colors don't go together.
And they're too similar. Right. So it would be better if you had a pink one, maybe the other one could be blue, or it could be something else anyway. Okay, for repetition, you want to repeat visual elements of the design throughout the piece. Okay, let's talk about what that means. What's a visual element? Christy, do you remember what that is?
Are you talking about like if you were to put like a graph or a grade on it, is that what you're talking about? Or are you talking about like the breaks or the lines you put through things?
It really could be either one. Just in general, what's a visual element, do you think?
I would think something that you put on the page that you're expecting to catch their eye.
Okay, so what this is saying is you want to repeat those visual elements throughout the piece of it. Now the piece could be the whole yearbook, so you might say in the bottom right of every page, we're going to have a page number there, and we're going to have a little word that tells what the section of the yearbook is, which is what we did this year. Organization, sports. So that was always in the lower right corner. That's a design element. But this also could be, maybe you're going to have all the pictures on the left side of the page. There's going to be at least one that's round because you have some sort of design throughout the book that has to do with circles or something. So that's what we mean by repeat visual elements. Shape, texture, spatial relationships, line thicknesses, sizes, etc. Those are all examples of things you can repeat. So for example, if we have a box around a story and we're having it on several pages, the box would be the same line width. And this is probably a good time for me to tell you, newspaper-wise, usually yearbook, but definitely newspaper-wise, I have a preference for the size of a box that goes around all photos. And y'all probably remember what that is.
0.1 thickness.
It's 0.25.
0.25.
We call it a hairline.
Oh, yeah.
All photos have a hairline around them. And we'll talk later about why, but just a little thing. Okay, alignment. Nothing should be arbitrarily placed. What do you think that means?
Randomly placed.
Yeah, just kind of like if, I need a yearbook in here, but like if Jared is trying to put something on a page and he thinks, I'll just stick it in the center. Well, here's another photo. I'll just put it up here on the right. I don't know where to put it. So he's just kind of randomly sticking stuff because he doesn't know where to put it. We would rather not do that because then you're not following alignment. Every element should have some visual connection with another element on the page. So it should have a reason that you place it there and you put it there in relation to something else. This is going to make more sense when I can show you a page, and I have one on the next slide. And then for proximity, the items are relating to each other. They should be grouped close together if they're relating to each other. And then it helps organize information and reduces clutter. Okay, so, I thought I had, I have all the examples at the end. That's it. Okay, so stick with me on these, and I'm going to go a little faster. Okay, we've already talked about what proximity is. The basic purpose of it is to organize, and if the information is organized, it's more likely to be read and remembered. It's a lot easier for your reader to understand what you want them to find it. It's easier to use if the proximity happens. How to get it? This is the way that you can actually do it. You can squint your eyes and count the number of visual elements on the page by counting the number of times your eye stops. We'll try this when we get to a sample page at the end. So just a little exercise we can do. If there's more than 3 to 5, then try to regroup some of the elements because there'd be too many if there's more than 3 to 5. It gets too busy looking. A little bit of what to avoid with proximity. You don't want too many separate elements on a page. You want things to be connected. Don't stick things in the corners and in the middle. Avoid leaving equal amounts of white space between elements unless each group is part of a subset. Avoid even a split second of confusion between related material. And don't create relationships with elements that don't belong together. In other words, everything should have a reason you've placed it there, and it should be in relation to something else. Okay? Okay, all right, well here's a page we can kind of look at. Alignment, nothing should be placed on the page arbitrarily. So can you tell everything is here for a reason? Now this is kind of odd to have a headline like this on the side, but can you tell that they've put it there for a purpose? Does that make sense? Why do you think they have done such an odd thing up here with this whole photo and the flag of the newspaper is part of the photo? Do you think they've done that, like thought it through? Do you like it like that? It's kind of different, isn't it? And then they've placed this picture here in relation to a story that goes with it. Now notice, this goes with this, in a sense, but all of this is a story and a sidebar that all goes together. Now for our purposes, for the tower, we couldn't have a page that looked like this. We have magazine design. But something like this would work on one of our pages, wouldn't it? Something smaller, a smaller element. So for alignment, the basic purpose is to unify and organize the page. So notice everything is lined up. So this goes straight across the top. All of this is aligned down the side. It's like we have columns here. This is aligned here. Does that make sense? Even down here, all of these things are aligned along the bottom. So if you're working on a page, and one, like if you were working on a page like this and one of these stuck up above one of the other ones, then if it was a yearbook page, A would go, okay, now that's sticking up, you've got to lower that so it's all aligned. Or if it was for the tower, then Jake would say that too. So how to align? Be conscious of where you place the elements. Always find something else on the page to align with, even if the two objects are physically far apart. Now notice, these things are aligned. That's slightly higher because that's a byline, and it really shouldn't be. That should be even. Look at this byline. It's lined up exactly, isn't it? So we've already found a boo-boo on this page. How about that? We found a boo-boo on the cover of the Chicago Tribune. But anyway, what to avoid? You want to avoid using more than one text alignment, and you want to avoid breaking away from centered alignment unless you want a more formal look. Okay, we'll look at some examples of that soon. Okay, repetition. This is the repeating of design. The purpose is to unify and add visual interest. If a piece looks interesting, it's more likely to be read. Think of it as being consistent, possibly add elements just to create repetition. Find existing repetition and strengthen it. Start to create repetitions to enhance the design and clarify, and avoid repetition so much that is, I don't know what the rest of my sentence was. Let me think for a second what I was saying there. You just don't want repetition that is always exactly the same, because on some pages you could still repeat something, but maybe instead of 3 pictures that are circles on the left, maybe you could do 3 pictures on the right that are circles, or something like that. Contrast. Okay, this is a great front page of a sports section. What do you see just looking at it that looks like a contrast?
Bottom left.
The bottom left corner. You're looking at this right here?
Yep.
Okay, it's a contrast because it's a yellow box. Okay, what else?
I was going to say having Tiger Woods in the center.
Isn't that a great photo? Why do you think they ran it so big?
I think because that's what they were wanting you to see.
Okay, it's a great dominant photo. You're going to hear that word a lot. And it's, I mean, this whole thing is all about Tiger Woods. And so why not run it big? Look what they did with his arm. It runs up here into the flag. So isn't that cool? We got another guy raising his arm here, but he's a little tiny and he apparently has no body below the waist. But that's okay because see how they've got that line there that kind of anchors him so he doesn't just float away. This is a great picture. So a lot of contrast, dark and light. There's just a lot of stuff that's contrast. So the rule with that is if 2 items are not the same, then make them really different. Okay, well these 2 photos are not the same, except they have their arm raised. But look how different they are just in size and placement and everything. So the basic purpose of this, to create an interest on the page, it does that. More likely to be read, organization of information. So how to get that? You add contrast through typeface choices. By the way, I need to go ahead and give you a definition here. Most of us just say fonts. You know what a font is? Okay, what is a font?
How to describe it? It's not a story.
A font?
It's like a style.
It's just it's a different letter style.
Okay.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay, well our 3 people that were here last year know that that's what most people think a font is, but you're wrong. That's actually a typeface. A font is the entire family of the typeface. So it's like A through Z small, A through Z capital, all the punctuation, all of that, that's actually a font. But most people, and I try not to slip up, but I do sometimes, most of us just say, oh, I like the font that word masterful is in. And actually we like the typeface. It's okay to say font, but just know that technically you're incorrect. So we try very hard to say typeface, but sometimes we slip up. Anyway, You can add contrast through typeface choices, line thickness, colors, shape, sizes, and Landon pointed out that box down there is yellow. So they did that for a reason. It could have just been a gray box, but you wouldn't have seen it, would you? What to avoid, don't be a wimp. In other words, if you're going to do something different, go ahead and do it. Do it with strength, make them different. I love this page. I think it would be great if we actually had a sports page similar to this. But we don't have room for all of this, but we could do something like this on a smaller basis. Wouldn't it look cool? Okay. Just a few minutes. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about don't be a wimp, and then we're going to look at examples. Don't be afraid to use lots of white space. We're going to see some examples of that. Don't be afraid to be asymmetrical. What is asymmetrical? Anybody know what that means? That's an art term, isn't it? Something is asymmetrical. Anybody know? In this sense, it means it's okay to put something at maybe at an angle or in a different way. If all the pictures are lined up exactly like this, it's okay to take one and tilt it this way or do a different shape of a picture or something. Often that makes it stronger, and it's okay to do the unexpected. Don't be afraid to make words very large or very small. Okay, look at this again. Look how big this is. Masterful. Is that the whole headline? Is there another part of the headline? What's the other? Yeah, and look, his arm goes through the headline. How cool is that? Okay. So it can be effective to make words very large or very small. Don't be afraid to make graphics bold or minimal as long as the result complements or reinforces your design. Okay, so what do you like of this? Now these are 5 different front pages. NFL Sunday, they're all very different. And you might be thinking, hey, could we do something like that with the tower? We could. However, ours would have to be pretty much just like this. We wouldn't have room for a little story down here. What do you like about these? Or is there anything you do like?
I like the center one.
How come?
I don't know. I think I see myself drawn to a design like that. Like, I don't know if you saw this year's Mud Week shirt, but so when I see that, like, you have the main thing in the center, and then you have off to the side at different levels. The Mud Week shirt was all words that during Mud Week we do, so all the events.
Okay.
But like Mud Week was the biggest inside of the state of Arkansas, and then all the other words were
Cool.
put at a different, like,
Different places.
yeah, a different size, a
Okay.
different, like, one went horizontal, one went vertical.
Okay.
A different.
Asymmetrical. That gives.
Mhm.
So all of these 4 elements we're talking about are part of that T-shirt design.
Mhm,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, and I see what you mean about that. I like that too.
I like
Okay.
the Stormwatch, like splattered look.
Okay.
I mean, that's just it's a good sports design, I guess you could say.
It is, and isn't that a great picture?
It is good. That's cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I like the second one.
You like the second one? This, oh, it says CJ. Not bad. CJ's here after all, even though he's not here. Okay, what do you like about that?
I like how big the picture is, and I mean, it's different from the 4th one because it's like a still picture instead of an action shot.
All right. It
And there's
has,
room for like words on the side.
okay, and the size of these letters, isn't that cool? And the story, this is called reverse type. And actually, y'all know this from last year.
Yeah.
Reverse type looks nice like this, but if you're gonna read all of this, it's a little bit hard to read. It's actually better if, now, when I explain this, you guys, y'all are gonna go, what? But they know it's true. It really works better if we have a white box here that's very transparent with black text, because we're used to reading black text on a white background just from textbooks. But it's beautiful. Okay, Jared, what do you like?
I like the first 2 that were mentioned, the middle and the
Okay.
second one.
All right.
I don't really like the one we were talking about just then.
Okay, you don't like it as much? Hannah, what about you?
I like the first one. I like all their cutouts. That takes a long time to do, so I appreciate they did that.
Uh-huh.
And I like the Is that a blue question mark or something?
Yeah, I think that's a big question mark,
Yeah,
because it says,
I like
what
that.
if? Now, notice all three of these pictures are round, aren't they?
I like that too.
So we got that repetition going on. Does this make sense? Addie, is there one of these that you like?
I like the one in the middle, the way that they did the words.
All right, I like that too.
Why do you like that?
Just Kristen just said the same thing.
Oh.
That's okay.
Yeah,
I
that's-
just
that's
love
good.
words, and I mean, obviously, because you did the infographics.
Right.
I just like how, the way all that looks.
Okay. I'm drawn to all of these. Now, I noticed that none of us have really said this one. This is nice enough, but to me, it doesn't stand out.
It's just another page.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
but
consider it.
it's nice enough, but it's
Correct.
just kind of like, okay, now let me tell you something. What we would like is, at least for the tower, not so much for the yearbook because we have design continuity throughout the book, but with the tower, you can do some different things with pages. Here's what would be really cool is when we go to our state journalism conference in April, is if we have several first, second, and third prizes because people like our pages just for the design. Do you know that, how long has that been? 3 years ago now. Some of you know Tyler Seabolt, Michaela's boyfriend. He got a first, second, and third in sports page design over the Arkansas Traveler at the University of Arkansas, over every college in the state of Arkansas. He got a first, second, and third because his pages were awesome. That was his favorite thing to do, was design. And he would look for pages like this from professional newspapers and then model his page like that, and it just blew us away. It was really cool. So you can do that if you want to with the newspaper. Okay, we're almost out of time. This is actually a magazine story. And so this is a 2-page spread. Something like this would also work in a yearbook because yearbook is a little bit different. So you know how we did the stories this year on the portrait pages? We had the 1 page with the person's picture and the story about them. Well, this is an example of doing that just on a 2-page spread.
That could also work as your center page for the newspaper.
It
Because that's
could.
what I did
It
last
could.
year. I always have the center page. And so
Right.
you have, whoever gets that, you definitely have an advantage with your design because you have 2 pages that go together. So you have a bigger space to
Right.
work with. And so
Right.
you definitely have more room to be creative.
Right. Do y'all like this?
I
Wish we could see the picture a little better, but it's because of all the lights on in here. Okay, now this is definitely a yearbook page. This is at Western Kentucky University. This is part of their opening spread. And their opening spread is not just 2 pages, it's like 4 different pages in a row. And this is just one of them. So their theme is visage. So you can see, look at all these faces. Okay, that makes sense, doesn't it, with the theme? What do you think about these faces over here in the middle of the story? Do you like that?
I don't like the
I don't
actual
really like it.
pictures, but I like it in the story.
Now, these pictures are really different. Look at that one. But they're
I just
all
don't think they're
close-ups.
I would really hate if that was one of my faces.
No,
If it was
it's
really
really
It's not necessarily flattering. I mean, I'm looking at this guy up here. He may not really care. He may think it's funny, But apparently what they wanted were not posed pictures. They wanted candids. And I can understand that. I'm not sure I care for these either. But what I wanted you to see is, you see the consistency. You see the same shapes. We've got the repetition. Look at the white space here. Look how it makes that all stand out. What do you think about this quote? Isn't that cool? I like that. I'm just not sure I like the pictures either. All right, this is another yearbook spread. Look at this guy. He's having a good time, isn't he? What do you think about this typeface here? How cool is that? Re-elect? Or no, it's reflect. It's reflect.
I don't know if I like that.
This is kind of do you know what a grunge look is?
Well, they're not,
The design, that's what
they're
they-
not even. Like,
Does it bother you that it's not
Yes.
even? Okay, see, some people like the fact that it's not even. So that's just a personal preference.
I guess that's a personal preference.
I kind of like this, but not very much of it. And you know what? It might look interesting. You might read that, but if you had a whole story to read like that, that'd get tiring, wouldn't it? But there's some aspects of this. I like just the fact that the guy's just having a good time with his guitar. So it's an interesting picture.
I like the edges of the picture.
I like that too. Let's look back at that. I like that too. I like what they've done with this along the edges. Okay, now this one, okay, I don't know if these people are jumping off cliffs or what's going on, but that's a great photo. But this is just really simple. Now this is a yearbook spread also because it's the 2 pages together. So this is the middle of the spread, obviously, but they've just looked at in a big red box with this. What do you think about this, Hannah? Do you like it?
I like it.
Do you like the fact that there's this little picture over here of these people, I guess, watching the sky or taking part?
I don't really understand that little picture, but I do like the big picture and like the
Okay.
red.
I want you to see, these are the captions. With the newspaper, we call them cut lines. And there's another caption. That's kind of cool, instead of just having something down here on his leg or something. And this one, I mean, we're used to seeing it go like this, but that's kind of cool, isn't it? Leaves a lot
This
of,
is definitely, I think, this is
That
yearbook page.
This
right?
is yearbook.
Okay, I was gonna say that
do
was-
you like it?
I like it.
I
I
don't
like,
know if there would, to me, I don't know if there's enough contrast between the black lettering and all the red.
Very good point. I was waiting for someone to say that. The readability is
It's kind
affected.
of hard to,
It's a little bit hard to see. Part of it is, we have this, but it is hard to see. So there's 2 things that could be done. One thing is, this could be more opaque in some way, or maybe this could be more bold. I don't know. There's just some different things that could be done. I think that's supposed to maybe match his sunburn. I'm trying to kind of see where they get that red,
Yeah, I kind of like it though. Like I like the colors.
Oh, and notice this. This is in white. I think that might be, that's not the byline. Maybe that's the photo credit for this. I can't see it, so I don't know. Kelly, what do you think about this?
I like it, and I like the picture on the side too.
Okay.
Some y'all said you didn't like it, but I think
I
it's
like
better than just having,
All that blank space.
Yeah.
blank space, and it still goes along with the theme. It's not
Yeah.
really,
It does. Okay.
yeah.
All right, here's another one. This is graduation. Now, usually we run several graduation pictures. Okay, this is an example of just a few pictures, but they're good pictures. And so they might even have a second spread of graduation with more pictures. But here, so there's one part of the headline. This is another part of the headline. It's may look a little strange running that way, but it's kind of cool.
I like it.
So anyway, we need to pretty much wrap up. Here's another one. This is homecoming. Isn't that a great reaction? So I'm guessing the photographer, maybe there were several photographers and they were all watching the girls that might be selected. And so this is the one that was selected. And so we get her dad's reaction too. Isn't that great? Just makes you want to smile. Okay, this must be people performing during homecoming week. Obviously they have a football team. I don't know, is this maybe Clemson? I'm not quite sure. Oh yeah, this is a tiger. That has to be Clemson. So here's somebody with their mascot maybe. It's called Old and New. So I kind of wish we could see that headline better. But isn't this an interesting layout? And I really like the fact that this whole page is that picture, because it's a great picture. All right, that's it. Thoughts on this so far? Is this kind of making sense? Okay, let me go back real fast and just remind you, when we go into this other session, what I want you to look for as we look at pages is these 4 things: contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. That's what you're looking for. Now, there's not going to be a quiz or anything. But what I'm hoping you'll get out of these 2 sessions we're about to go to, as compared to everybody else, I'm hoping we'll be putting some pages up on the screen and you'll immediately think, I like that. For whatever reason, maybe take a picture with your phone. And we will have access to the PowerPoints, of course, but that might be the quickest thing, so that when y'all are doing some planning this afternoon, Addie's going to meet with y'all later, right at the very end, right before we finish. Y'all are going to do some actual planning, but that way you can pull it up on your phone and say, I really liked this. Could we do something maybe with this? So just want to encourage you to do that. Does anybody have a question? Was this helpful?
yes.
Just a little bit of information, but the more you look at design, the more you're going to figure out what you like and why. Okay?